All right, guys, super excited. As you can see, I am wearing a different t-shirt today, and you can see the V, that means Varada. And I am super excited to have a special guest from Varada today on the show. It's none other than Ori Reshef and Guy Mast from Varada team. Today, we will be discussing about big data, open source community, and how you can gain optimal results from your content, from your current data lake with no hassle. And much more. So you guys can ask as many questions as you have today to Ori and Guy. We'll also be discussing a lot around data engineering, about open source, about Trino connector. I've also mentioned the link in the post itself, so you can have a look at the LinkedIn post, and I have a link there where you can download the Trino connector. Also, a little about our guest. Ori Reshef brings 15 plus years of experience and deep expertise in the data space, specializing in speech, text, and big data analytics and creating business solutions from cutting edge technologies. We will want to learn from his experience today a lot around big data, a lot around what's happening at Varada, data lakes, and much more. Also, we have another colleague of his, Guy Mast, who is joining us today and brings over 10 years of experience, both hands-on and management in the big data analytics space, specializing in BI and cybersecurity. So we'll be learning a lot from Guy as well. And also, a quick announcement that I wanted to do right away is about the giveaway. We will be giving away one annual subscription of 365 data science. I will be mentioning about it once they start introducing themselves. I'll create a raffle for you guys so you can have that annual subscription, and we'll announce one winner by end of the show. Okay, let's have Ori and Guy here. Hey Ori, hey Guy,
Hey,
welcome to the
hey,
Ravit Show.
thank you so much, Ravit, for having us. Super
Yeah,
excited to be here.
Oh,
Uh,
equally. And we have seen like 300 plus folks who would want to, attend this.
wow.
crazy.
So can't wait to learn about Varada. Can't wait to learn more about data lakes, data engineering, open source community, Trino, and much more. I don't know how long this will go on, but you guys can sit tight in the audience and let us know in comments what you want to learn about big data. Ori and Guy are here to help you all. To
My
start with,
pleasure.
Ori, why not introduce Guy? Why not introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. Thanks,
Thank you.
Ravit.
So first, Ravit, great
Yeah,
T-shirt. Thanks
thank
for
you.
for wearing it. We really
It's a
appreciate it.
pleasure. Yeah.
Guy, you know what? Why won't you start and
Thank
introduce
you.
yourself?
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, first of all, Ravit, thanks for having us again. Really excited to be here with you and with Ori. Really exciting. So, I'll quickly introduce myself. So, in the last 3 years, I'm a PM at Varada. But I think it will be fair saying that most of my experience is in the big data analytics domain. I start really working heavily with data during my military service. I served for 6 years as a data analytics team leader, where I really worked heavily with data engineering, data analysis, and really felt for the first time the challenges about working with data, and also the big impact data products can have on large scale organizations. Later on, I moved
Nice.
to a company named LivePerson, which is a tech company in Israel. And there I was the first member of the data analytics team in the product department, where we defined product KPIs and measure them together with the product management team. And I also had the privilege to sit one desk next to Ori. So that was also something that happened back then. I think something
Wow.
like 10 years ago. And he was hearing me a lot complaining about my dashboard of not working. I can't query HDFS, the data lake. So he was hearing me a lot. But yeah, Ori, I think it's your turn now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Guy. And it was my pleasure also to know Guy a decade ago.
Yeah,
Actually, at Live
time
Person,
flies. Time
Life
flies.
flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Live Person is a Nasdaq traded company. If you know it, Ravit, they're doing live chats and text messaging. So as
Right.
Guy mentioned, this was for me also the first time. Before that, I worked at Nice System on speech analytics, but the data was not that big. The first time I came across real big data, petabyte size, and my very talented and swift analyst complaining that he cannot do anything because the query cannot move. ETL was broken, and there and then I also, the dime dropped that big data is something different. We need to get our heads around in a different way. Compute is different, cost is different, time is different, time to market is different. And all of a sudden you have all these issues where an analyst cannot run a query because the query always fails. And then an entire project is delayed because of size issues. Later on, I came across the same, later on in my career, I came across the same problem when I worked for ClickTail, a data analytics company bought by Content Square recently. And there again, Hadoop, massive data. And there was, if Guy represents the internal analytics point of view, at ClickTail, it was the product that we actually sold. We sold analytics. And in the data warehouse domain, we were limited. We couldn't innovate. We couldn't get a competitive edge. And we saw the treasure box that lied in Hadoop, and then we passed to S3. And we knew that we could make magic. We could make data products that will take the company to the next stage, but the time to market was crazy. The cost was crazy. The fights between engineering and product management was also crazy because the business pushed, and there was a resistance from the engineering side because there was a physical problem that needed to be solved. The funny story on how I joined Varada was that when at my last position as VP product at ClickTail, I came across two very smart people, the two of the three founders of Varada. So we have Roman, Tal, and David that created this company, founded this company. I met David and Tal back at ClickTail, and they told me an amazing story that I can actually make my big data operational, and I can query it, and it will go back as if it was a data warehouse. I said, okay, that's amazing. Let's do a pilot now. They told me, wait, we don't have a product yet. We'll call you when we will be ready. And the rest was history. And then I called Guy and said, let's go solve this issue.
Wow. This is like years of experience coming together, and at the same time years of relationship that you both have in I'm sure that's one of the things which kind of bring you both together and make a strong team with others alongside. So it's great to know the behind story there. So thanks for that, Ori and Guy. I think we have a question already from
that was fast.
Though it is more on the side where Petri is here. Hey Petri, nice to have you here. Petri is asking, Guy, do you know Asaf from Metrolink?
Wow. I didn't expect this one, and not that I can recall, but I will definitely do the LinkedIn lookup, and we'll get back to you. Yeah, this was surprising.
Guy, I guess Petri is one guy who's like connected everywhere, so that's one of the reasons he might have come up with such questions. So nice one, Petri. Hope you stay with us throughout. And okay, obviously great introductions there. Thanks Ori, thanks Guy. Let's for the interview itself, obviously we thought that it would be interesting for the audience to open the discussion with the way that the big data analytics domain has changed in the last few years, to discuss the transitional behavior of organizations and how they consume data today, and how data perspectives from the data community has changed today versus a few years ago. So we can always discuss that trends such as community editions and open source, that data companies are focused on creating trust in the community rather than focusing on just selling products. Like we are having a discussion here, and we're not talking about just specifically obviously about the product, but we are talking about what and how Varada has built itself, how is it solving problems for the community. And I think that's the new culture in the open source world.
Completely.
So let's maybe focus more, and that also brings me to an important question today around how do you see big data today, and how has it changed in the last few years, and what are the current trends today? So
Okay.
yeah.
That's great. So maybe we can start by there isn't a definition for big data. I mean, there is a formal definition, right? We all know the 3 V's, right? Volume, variety, and velocity of data.
And Varada, you can add.
And
I was just thinking about it. It
was completely. So there is a formal definition, and then you ask, okay, so if I have 100 terabytes, is it big data? If I have 1 petabyte, is it big data? Probably yes. But I think there are, now that we evolved and we actually use big data, I think there are other definitions or other realities that will tell the organization, okay, we are in the big data space. For example, when the engineering team do not have an off-the-shelf vendor turnkey solution to solve a data pipeline. If we go to your question, Ravit, it is a great question, because we came from data warehouse to the lakes and sophisticated data pipelines. Once you just pick up the phone, call Oracle, call IBM, and you solve your problem, right? You have the quantities of data, hundreds of millions of rows. I know where to call. There is a store. I buy the solution. I solve the problem.
Exactly.
This is gone. This reality. I mean, if you're living in an organization where you can no longer buy off-the-shelf classic data solutions, and you need to start to think out of the box, and you need to start combining technologies, and you need to start stitching with, and building within your own teams, building with people that you educate on that, and you're building new solutions, and you're stitching solutions that did not talk before together. Then I think you know that you're in the big data. Another indicator is, and I had the fortune or misfortune to live this, is when your CFO calls you to his office, literally pulls you by the ear and say, why is my cloud bill so high in millions? Why is my cloud bill second to my salary expense? And then also it's a good hint that you're in the big data domain. Also, when you're bottlenecked with data engineers, when your data engineers are super tired and are bottlenecks, and they cannot deliver because there is so much strain and work on them, you can guess also that you are in that domain. And the last one, which I felt in my last place, is the time to market of data products. From the idea, and I know I have the data in its raw form, until I can externalize it either via BI or a dashboard, the time, it took us 6 months, sometimes 10 months, a year to get it all together, where it's not relevant anymore. And then you kill the project. That's kind of what we see. We also see, and that's amazing, actually, it's beautiful to see that it's a journey. Everybody is on a journey right now. Paradigms change. Companies that swore that they will never take their data out of their own network are now working in SaaS solution, and vice versa. Somebody wanted. We see this journey and this thinking, and you mentioned the community. This journey is really important, Guy.
I definitely see it as a journey. I think I felt this journey myself as being part of different big data analytics team throughout my career. Like when I just started in LivePerson, we talked about HDFS, the first data lake, that part of the Hadoop movement, MapReduce paper by Google. Everybody knows how the story starts. So then we were using the HDFS, and then we were moving the data into the data warehouse. So it feels like the data warehouse was always there, but just the names were changing. Later on, HDFS changed to the cloud lake house, a cloud data lake, with the object storage. And then companies were moving the data from the cloud object storage now to the cloud data warehouse, such as Snowflake, Redshift, BigQuery, and others. And I think what's interesting about this journey that we see when we talk with organizations in the last few years, that now companies and organizations start to understand that with concepts such as the data mesh and the lake house everybody's talking about, they can really start and get ROI on their data lake and leverage their investment in the data lake and start doing analytics on top of the data lake right now. Because if you have the data in the data lake, why do I need to copy it to the data warehouse in order to serve internal or external analytics? Because I can make copies and copies and copies, but it's hard. It's hard to maintain it. It's hard to build the pipelines,
right?
And expensive. And for me, as formerly an analyst, it takes time, right? Because someone needs to build the pipeline, someone needs to maintain it. Sometimes it breaks, so my dashboard or my CFO dashboard or the CEO, God forbid, dashboard breaks, and then you have a problem, and you have a problem delivering the product. So I think now it's kind of a journey from the data warehouse to maybe a combined method of data warehouse and data lakes. And yeah, I think that's what we see today with great technologies such as Trino that allowing company to query the data lake.
Right. Yeah. I think these are fantastic insights in terms of, the I think Ori kind of touched very important topic from, the traditional things where you can just do things over a call. And now things have completely changed, and we've, Guy has actually reached to a place where he's talking about today how it works, how communities work, and how things are modernized, and the approach is completely different. So that is fantastic. Great insights.
It's actually really exciting, Ravit. I'll double click on this point, because this is also a trend that we see. Because you cannot call your favorite vendor and solve your solution, it's a ground up movement, not a top down movement. It's
communities.
Yes, completely. It's smart people getting together and say, okay, we're all facing the same problem. I cannot move so much data. I cannot run my algorithms on that. But these are all, we all love data. Data engineers are smart people. They like to fix and build stuff. And it actually created this movement, this fire in the data domain, where people start to be more innovative. And the quantities of open source projects and solutions and forums and Slack channels is just mind-boggling. And it's beautiful to see, because the industry just went upside down. Instead of those huge vendors that sell your solution, no, it's from the ground up.
And it's not just the communities for being communities. It's much more than that. You can actually see that if you look at data teams, data engineering teams, data stack, a lot of their stack is open source projects. They're using day to day, delivering a product to the market, or managed services that are wrapping open source technology, starting from the data in the data lake is saved as Apache Parquet or ORC, which are open file formats, moving to how companies are doing ETL using Spark, using Apache Airflow to schedule ETL jobs, and then to querying the data lake with projects like Trino, like PrestoDB, or AWS Athena, which is a managed Presto service. Yeah.
Totally. I think these are fantastic insights, and we have like tons of questions coming in. So let's not forget our audience here, and they have interesting questions. To start with, one of the simple questions, which is George wants to know if Varada integrates with Snowflake already.
That's a good question. We work beside Snowflake. We can take workloads off of Snowflake that will be more compatible with Varada. It's in the future, but not right now. A good question.
Okay. Fantastic. Nice question, George. Another quick question from Aditi, and this is something which is very important, I feel. How important is data lake analytics?
What a question. Thank you, Aditi, for that question.
Yeah.
Wow. I think this is the beginning of everything. This is the revolution. This data lakes analytics. Okay, we're moving. We talked about the move from data warehouse analytics, where data is super modeled, super optimized. You have analytics team that sit on the database and make sure your model corresponds with your queries. You gain speed. You have cost predictability, but what you don't have is flexibility, and you don't have innovation. And what data lake analytics gives you is a competitive edge, is the opportunity to innovate. And the more you get into the feeling of analyzing data on top of your data lake, as you did over the data warehouse, the bigger your advantage is. Time to market of new products, data science being more efficient. Think of just super analysts like Guy was iterating. The thought process is much, much quicker. I need this data, and I got an insight. Because let's not forget that at the end of the day, all the analytics serves for people to connect the dots. And it's a thought process. So the quicker we can do it and the more flexible, the better. Yes, Guy.
Yeah, I was just wanted to double click on something you just said. The time to insight and time to market today is crucial. You have so much data, so much thing happen. The market changes so fast. So if it takes you 2 weeks to get the data and to build the report, maybe it's not relevant anymore. Maybe things have changed and this business question is not relevant anymore. So, and if you could have answered it 2 weeks before by just querying the data lake, that will be amazing. But that's I think the challenge.
Yeah.
Right. And that definitely answers for Aditi. Thanks for that question. Brings out a lot of data lake analytics things out. So thanks for that. Okay, we have a long question from Petri, but looks like an important one. We discussed yesterday and today that one big problem is that business just wants to have that report, but not to work on definition. Then data people have difficult to talk that language. So data pipeline definition is technical as rocket science and is hardly supporting reusability and interoperability. What do you think? Interesting.
This disconnect between the business and engineering, it's an amazing question, right? Because this is the heart of it. This is exactly the heart of the big data problem. Business wants to move very fast, blissfully ignorant from all the, as defined, rocket science going on behind it to make it happen. I want this now. That's the business side, right? And then you say, okay, this is 2 petabytes at a latency of 2 seconds. It's just not possible. And then you start, impossible discussions. Our view is what we're trying to do. Is trying to close this gap between to give the data engineers and the infrastructure this flexibility to be able to translate this blissfully ignorant requests coming from the business side. When I say blissfully ignorant, from the infra. Yes, Guy.
Yeah, and I think like we also just mentioned the concepts of the data mesh, which means basically we don't have enough time to discuss this topic, but I think one of the key concepts of the data mesh is that you have data there, you don't need to do too much in order to gain insights. Leave the data where it sits and just query it, and then you can get the insights you want. And I think that this approach can really help organizations to do what they want. And also we talked about Trino before, and really we are a big fan of the Trino project, and I think that's what Trino does, basically by allowing organizations to just query the data where it sits. And I think that's an amazing thing.
And a quick shout out to our very close friends at Trino Foundation and Starburst, Martin, Dan, David, Justin, Brian Olsen, all those guys that you know very well, right? You know them all very well. We contribute. it's a good point to say just a quick phrase. We strongly believe in community, as we discussed. We're very passionate about it, about community, about the open source, and we do believe in giving back. We're contributors to the Trino project. We have people really assigned and dedicated to that. It was not an obvious choice for a startup to do so, but we really believe that if you take as our technology that we'll talk about in a few minutes is wrapped with Trino, and I think you should give back to the community and develop that.
I think maybe it's a good point for those of you who don't know Trino to explain in a few sentences about Trino, the project, and all the crazy history behind it. So in a nutshell, Trino was started as a project at Facebook, and then it was open source to an open source project named Presto. Was forked to two different projects, basically TrinoDB and Trino. Trino today is used by very big tech companies and like Netflix, like Lyft, like LinkedIn, Salesforce, and many more. And as we said, it really implements the vision of the data mesh, and by allowing organizations to query the data where it sits, right? Because if I have data in my SQL database and I have data in my data lake, so I can leverage a concept name connector. Like Trino have different connectors. I can access MySQL with the MySQL connector, access the data lake with my Hive connector, and magically combine those together. So if I have a business question that requires me to combine different data sources, I can really easily do it with Trino instead of taking one data from here, the second type of data from there, and then just ingesting into the data warehouse. I can out of the box use Trino and do it, and that's amazing. That's an amazing technology.
Just as an anecdote, we created the first meetup of the Trino Foundation here in Israel, and we brought Martin, Dane, and David. It was like, what, 3 years
ago when I joined.
Time flies.
Was my first
your first that was amazing. And you know what was really amazing? We're here in Tel Aviv. This project was developed at Facebook, right? The Silicon Valley. We had to open an extra town hall to accommodate the people interested and using this open source project. It blew our minds, really. It's just beautiful to see, and this ground up movement of open source.
That's amazing. I think, with this, I can just see how strong the community is. And Mike here says Trino rocks. So we all agree with that. Fantastic, Mike. Okay, thanks for those amazing insights about Trino as well, and how Varada is in the community wholly. And I guess you were talking about the meetup. So back it was Presto, now it's Trino, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take another question, and we'll get back to more questions after that. Okay. Guy, there was a comment from Surya Kanti. She says you're very honest, and she could relate with all the experiences that you were sharing. So
great.
Fantastic.
The pain of analysts.
It's great to know that I'm not the only one feeling this type of feelings. Really comforting.
Very true. And also, Manisha wanted to know more about your take on data mesh, but that's obviously you explained a lot around it already, Guy. So Manisha can reach out to you in terms of learning more about data mesh, and I'm sure we'll have that discussion too on the Ravit Show very soon.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yes. Okay. Taking one question, your very interesting question from Shruti Jain. What's the best approach to close the data lake analytics gap? So we spoke about data lake analytics. Now it's about approach to close the gaps. Interesting.
I'll start by the obvious product management answer, which is it depends. It depends.
Yeah.
It depends where you are in this journey. If you already have your pipeline running into your data lake and what you're looking for is, okay, now I need to operationalize, because my data lake architecture is already there. Then I would, of course, non-biased will say Varada closes this gap together with Trino. But seriously, the approach should be as flexible as you can, less aggregation, and more innovative solutions to keep this flexibility.
Right. Amazing. So I think that definitely answers Shruti's question. Very short and simple one, up to the point, Ori. Nice one. Okay, let's talk more about Varada. I want to know, since we spoke about big data analytics, the trends, how is Varada doing in that space? What's so special around Varada? Would love to know from Guy, Ori, both of you.
Sure. So I'll start, Guy, complete
Yeah.
whatever you want. So Varada is an automated data lake analytics accelerator with our secret sauce, which is patented. We index big data in a dynamic and adaptive way, and we do it inline. So all of these words, I'll explain. Let's take a query, right? So imagine Varada sits in your VPC. Imagine your Trino Varada cluster between your SQL consumer, any BI, dashboards, etc., and your data lake, S3 for that matter. Varada sits exactly in the middle. And what Varada will do is the following. First, we'll get the query will hit Varada. Varada will understand it. What do I mean by understanding? Varada will immediately understand which columns are being hit, what are the operations that these columns are doing, or what resources will they need. For example, if column X sits in the where clause, then it's a filter. Then we need to take a certain decision. If it sits in the group by clause, then it's a different case. And Varada differentiate between all these cases. And what Varada will do automatically is create an acceleration strategy. And the amazing things, and I always get excited because to see it in action, is we actually execute on this strategy in our own patented way. What do I mean? Let's say the column, this column X that the query needs can be an ID, age, whatever dimension that you're using today is in the where clause. So Varada will say, okay, we'll inline index this specific column. And let's say that column Y is in the group by and in the where clause, right? It is used twice. So the decision of Varada will say, okay, this column is used twice, once as data and once as index. We'll do both. And then it goes to the execution phase. And the execution phase is where the magic really happens. Because what we developed is actually we re-engineered the SSD media. We're using nodes, Trino nodes that have SSD attached to media attached inside. So the R5D family i3. And what we did is we re-engineered it. We cut it's kind of a new way of thinking. We cut this SSD media into what we call nanoblock, very small pieces, units of storage of 1 kilobyte. And now you can imagine a terabyte or 10 terabyte of SSD all cut into this 1K small units. And now this is the physical bed that Varada prepares for the data. And now it will go down to the actual table inside the data lake. And we look at the table in this very small resolution. What do I mean? Let's take column X, let's say, is temperature in a factory. And it goes from 0 to 1000 Celsius degrees, right? That's the cardinality of the 30 billion rows that you have in this table. But now we're looking at 64,000 rows in this specific column. And we look at the value, and we'll see that the values there are 35 and 36 degrees. Two values. So Varada will choose from an array of indexes the optimal index to index two values. And this will go to the nanoblock. And this, according to the Varada's decision, every column will get exactly the treatment that is needed to accelerate it. query or a bunch of queries.
Yeah, and even inside a column, if the data changes over time. So if for a specific portion, Varada chooses a specific index type, maybe when a new data lands it behaves differently, the cardinality is different, the percentage of null values is different, Varada may choose a different type of index. So it's very dynamic, and that's the dynamic part of the adaptive dynamic indexing.
Completely. And once the data is in Varada, Varada now runs the splits, the trino splits. So it's a small part of work, and that's another part of the magic. We accelerate exactly what is needed, according also to the cost constraints, because there are cost constraints. This is what we started to talk about. And Varada will manage the work. Whatever was decided, either by Varada or Varada helped by rules given by the user for business reasons and for cost reasons, whatever is in these nano blocks will be answered from them, and whatever is not will be answered directly from the lake, and the unified answer will be sent back to Trino and back to the SQL consumer. So that's the smart part. And what we actually did is we said, okay, at the beginning we said, okay, let's accelerate the entire data lake. But then we actually saw the reality. The data lake can be of petabytes, but the operational data, one example is that we went to a huge vendor. It had 1.6 trillion rows of data. Yeah, completely. And 1,700 columns. And they told us, how can you do this? How can you accelerate all that and put it in SSD? It will cost millions just to, and days just to put it. And
exactly.
What Varada understood immediately is, okay, you have all this data, but actually you're using 60 columns, not more. And you're not all using the 1.6 trillion all the time. And this is why we quickly understood that we need to be very smart about it. We need to adapt the acceleration strategy to the real life consumption of data and do it in a smart way. And all the indexing that we're doing is inline. So everything you know about indexing, you can forget. It doesn't take time. It's inline.
Wow, this is like you've actually gone through, the real life, obviously the practical cases. You've gone in the field and understood how data kind of moves, and that makes Varada definitely special. And we have a question here from Mavik and Vasra asking, how does Varada boost the indexing? So we already, I guess, most of the points you've already covered in here. So that definitely answers for Mahavir as well. And there's another question from YouTube by Gaurav Jain. Can Varada handle time series data efficiently? Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, Guy, I want to take that.
Yeah. I think you
Short
have.
Answer is yes, right?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. This is not our major use case. I think solutions like Druid and ClickHouse or maybe Apache Pinot are known as the best solution for this type of use case. I think what's special about Trino and special about Varada with Trino together is the ability to answer an array of use cases together in a good way, because we can do also time series. Maybe we won't be the best at the time series, but with our additional indexing, Trino can get a significant boost if it query the data lake compared when it uses the Hive connector. But the short answer is we can do it efficiently. I must be honest and say this is not the major use case for Varada, but it
does make sense. Also, we had a question around more on the side of the data engineering. And okay, let me quickly take this question from YouTube. Dakshin Vasra is asking, where do you see data engineering as a field in the near future? Very interesting.
Yes. We see, finding good data engineers is a huge task. I think two of your colleagues, Joe Rees and Ben Rogojon, the Seattle data guy,
yes.
Shout out to both of you. Hey, guys.
Joy is here. He says, "What's up, Varada crew?" Just before the show, I was talking to Ben about some collaborations, and you just mentioned him. It's amazing to see, obviously, how data engineering is like a close community.
community.
As we said,
Global community.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
getting back to the question.
So back to data engineering. It's a scarce resource. We see that evolving a lot. We see two distinct domains of DevOps and data engineering, and we see that the quality and innovation of data engineers just goes up and up. I think it's a good thing to be data engineer today and tomorrow. That is. And I really think, and as we just said right now, these are people that will need how it evolved into the communities, how it evolved. Now a data engineer takes decisions on purchasing infrastructure in millions of dollars because they are the real subject matter expert. And to this question, the power will go to the data engineering, power to those who build and understand the solution, rather than over a fancy dinner, but it would be
with their boss. With their boss.
With their boss. And data engineering, I think, is one of the most exciting domains, along with DevOps today, which is cloud DevOps. Is just mind blowing today.
Right. Very true. This is fantastic. These are fantastic insights. Also, since we are on this topic about data engineering, I would love to hear. Obviously, there's a good side being a data engineer, and it's a highly demanded job around. But also with the great demand, there comes a lot of responsibility, and that with that, obviously, would love to know in terms of what are the biggest headaches for data engineers today, and what solutions do you think they are looking out for?
Okay, I think it's two levels. I think the latency for time to market is a critical business analysis process and that's one of the biggest headaches. This I think there was one of the previous questions. This tension to serve the business. I think the data engineer would love to sit in a closed room where nobody can bother them in the important work they're doing with questions like, Guy went and it's not working for me. Can I get this? You need to build me a new pipeline. The pipeline is broken. They need this agility. They need this infrastructure that is stable. And every data engineer told me, whatever your solution is, I need it to be stable. I don't want a headache, because for data engineering today, they have so many moving parts, and it will continue to be like that because again, there is no one vendor that rules them all and solves all the problems of the world. So every part needs to be stable, every part needs to work, and every part needs to be flexible. I think this headache of solving the business problem, where the business is blissfully ignorant of the size of the data into the problem, and serving those business users is one. Second is cost. Now it falls more on the DevOps shoulders to reduce cost. And the third, which connects to the first one, is just querying that queries, important queries, mission critical queries that fail. And how to recover from that. Guy,
I will also add that I think because data engineers are such a scarce resource, you can't find today data engineers. I just read yesterday a Reddit blog about someone saying that in APAC they just can't find data engineers. They want to recruit and they just can't find, because there's so many open positions and not enough people. And I think because they are such in a centric position in the organization, they have such an important job with so many demands coming to them, so many requirements. So I think if they can use technologies that make automatic decisions for them in places where they trust. They say, okay, this I need someone to do it for me. I need a software that will automate some of the jobs that I do regularly. If I need to handle every day partitioning my data, or to add an index, or to do to maintain a pipeline, if someone can do it for me, that will be great, because I have so much tasks to do. And if I feel like if I can monitor the automatic procedure, that's great for me. If someone does it for me, it's a glass box, I can see what's happening, and so I can move on to my next task. That's how I see it.
Very interesting. I think these are fantastic insights, because what I feel is, like you rightly mentioned, Guy, it's just the data engineering doing so many things internally, and then it's like there's so much responsibility out there for them that and there are very few people around, and everyone's looking out for data engineers. Every company needs to have that data engineer to run their engine very well, to look after the data, and to work around and fix the right requirements that are coming. Obviously, there are vendor requirements, there are client requirements, which are like very it like comes around very quickly, and there's a very short turnaround time, so it does make a lot of sense there. Okay, and Mike does agree. He says like these are great points, and that also, obviously that brings me to a very important point where I want to switch gears to back to Varada, where I can learn more about who can most benefit from Varada's solutions, and what can they benefit from, and exactly what can they benefit from.
I think all the points that we discussed, we give this flexibility, and we take a load of the data engineer. I think the data platform team, the data engineer, the data architect, these are the personas that will gain a lot. I mean, the business will gain a lot, but they will not know the magic that happens down. We will solve these problems that we enumerated earlier on, of cost, performance, flexibility for the data engineer, and taking load off him. As you said, we are in this market for a couple of years. We're gaining more and more traction, and we see the market, and we understand the market. And data engineers, almost from their gut, they say, just take a load of my work. Don't make me work more. If I need to work for your solution, just get out of my room. I don't want to talk to you. You need to take a load of. So this automatic strategy of understanding and not putting the burden of data modeling on the data engineer. We want Varada, and we're doing it, and we'll see it in a couple of minutes. We're doing it by ourselves. The acceleration, finally keeping up with the business pace without so much constraint. So and we want to make it as easy as possible for the data engineers. As we said, we believe the data engineers are the ones that need to take these kind of decisions. That's only it makes sense. So we made it available to the entire community to just download our Trino connector. So if you're a Trino user or you download a Trino, just take our connector for free. It's a community edition, and try it out. Try it out, see if it solves the problem. See if we're just talking here nonsense, or there is real life. And we said, this is it. I mean, people are data engineers are smart. They need to feel it with their hands, because they know the problem. I mean, each data engineer knows the problem way better than any one of us. So we need to see if in their context, in their workload, will Varada work. And we said we need to really make it as available as possible. So I see that somebody posted, a guy, you posted a link to our Slack and to our website where you can very easily download our community edition. Just try it out and see if everything we said is true or not.
Okay, that's fantastic. I've shared the links with the
Great.
team here. They can, have a look at it. So feel free to also reach out to Ori and Guy. They can obviously share insights firsthand. There's obviously the Varada team you can reach out to. But talking about Varada, obviously we would not let you go without having a demo and
We
how
must
No.
have a
Varada
demo. We
works.
must have
Let's
a demo.
go.
We
Yeah.
should learn more about it. It's not just just talking around the community, but also want to look inside what you're doing exactly. So Guy, do you mind
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
us a short demo,
Sure.
and we can learn more about
Sure.
it?
Just quickly to summarize. So we said
Yeah.
Varada basically can be deployed as a cluster in the customers or organization VPC. And now we're gonna show the Varada Connector Community Edition, where we are basically plugging into an existing Trino cluster. And I will quickly show you how easy it is to install the Community Edition, and show you some queries. So can you see my terminal?
Let me just, yes, we can have a look at it. I'll just make it full screen for the audience. Yeah.
Great. Cool. So as I said, Varada can be added to an existing Trino cluster. So what I did here, I started a new Trino cluster, a single cluster of R5D for extra large, a fairly small machine on AWS, Trino 367. I think the latest version now is 369. And here's what I did. I basically downloaded the TarGZ. When you sign up for our community edition, you get a link to download the connector TarGZ. I created an installation directory, ran a script, and restarted the cluster. And then I have the Trino cluster with Varada inside. So what now I will do, I will show you a query I just ran. Yeah. So here, we have a really useful data set we are demoing with, and also we just publish it as an open data set, which is publicly available. And this is a ride-sharing data set. Basically, it contains ride-sharing data from San Francisco, and we're just actually working now on a geospatial analysis blog about running geospatial analysis queries on the data lake. So I just used one query I was writing for this blog. And as you can see here, this will quickly explain the query. We have a query, and now this query is running on the Hive connector, basically using Hive to query the data lake. We have a table with 5 billion rows. And this query, what it does, it basically is looking at a bounding box, a specific location in San Francisco, a very common geospatial analysis method, looks for a specific date, and basically gets all the drivers that went through this neighborhood in this day. And what it later does, it basically builds the profile for this driver. It looks per hour how many trips this driver had between the 21st of January to the 21 of February. As you can see, we got the results here. And what's interesting, if we look at the results, we can see this query on the Hive connector scanned 1 billion and 0.7 billion rows, which is pretty a lot, kind of quarter of the 25% of the actual table, and it took 40 seconds, which is not really interactive. So later on, after I installed the connector, you have it here, and now I replace it with the Varada catalog. So what we will see now, that when this query runs, it goes from, it was something about 50 seconds to 5 seconds, which is approximately 10 times faster. We'll run it again. Now it was 2 seconds. And important to know that, first of all, this query scanned 7 million rows, and that's the power of indexing. When we are using the Hive connector to query the data lake, we're basically doing kind of a full scan. We're taking all the data to Trino's memory, and then we're filtering, applying the filters. What we're doing with our adaptive indexing, we're just reading the data we need. This is how we leverage the index. So the result is we scan significantly less data. You can see here 7 million compared to, I think it was 1.7 billion. And the result is also the elapsed time, which the query is much, much faster. So also one thing to note that this is not a query cache result. So if I will change the date here and run it again, it's not like we are caching the results. We're creating indexes and caching the raw data. So you can change columns. I can also add here another, if I want to add to the breakdown also the day during the week, weekday in which it took place, comma, and I need here 2. And what will happen now is basically that Varada will go both to the lake and to our SSD's media, and will combine the results. So this query took us 12 seconds, and now behind the scene, the extra data, the new column that I just introduced, will be indexed. And if I will run this query now again, it will be faster again, and we can run it. And yeah, that's basically how it works. You can see it will take, it took us now from 12 seconds to 5 seconds, keeping it very interactive. And basically, if you're using the Hive connector, it's exactly, you can query your data lakes in the exact same manner. But now to introduce indexing and adaptive caching, that will hopefully help you query your data lake faster.
Very fast, and that's what Robert agrees. Awesome 10x, and Manisha says it's a great demo, very powerful Varada indexing. So
thank you.
Fantastic there, Guy. Thanks for that amazing getting through and learning more about Varada. Mike mentions as well that it's super fast. So just also quickly just wanted to remind folks, didn't remind earlier, but final reminder in terms of our giveaway for today, which is 365 Data Science annual subscription. Our sponsors, you can put in hashtag 365 Data Science in the comments, and by end of the show we will be doing a raffle so folks can win one annual subscription. Okay, also wanted to there's a question in the audience that I wanted to take very quickly. I think it was from Robert himself. Yes, so Robert is asking any good resources for learning data engineering for self-learners. What would you suggest, Ori? Does Varada has resources?
So I think so I think the basic, if I would now trying to get into data engineering, I would start with SQL. Really know SQL well, because this is the basics.
Right.
Like today, many tools, many technologies allow you to do so many stuff with SQL. So I will master first SQL. You have a lot of online resources to learn and to practice SQL. And then I will take it from there. Python, PySpark stuff. But I think SQL is the core.
SQL is amazing. If we think about how many years, I think 30 years, SQL has been the language of database and querying. And as Guy mentioned, the second step I would do is Python. And understand and learn that
and
big
SQL
data.
is so much fun. SQL is so much fun. Just to write SQL and to optimize queries. Maybe it's just me, but I think it's fun. I really like it.
I think a lot of Ravit's audience will find it fun as well.
Yeah.
Very true. Okay. Quick question around Varada itself. I know that there have been like amazing achievements I've gone through. Obviously, I've learned a lot around Varada, and proudly wearing a t-shirt as well. That's the reason. So I wanted to know a little about Varada's achievement and how is it as a company. Just a small overview, like a goodbye note to our audience to learn more about Varada.
Okay, so we were established in 2017. By our three co-founders, headed by our CEO, Eran Vanunu. The nice thing is that everybody that has big data can use Varada. So our customers range from cybersecurity that helps us a lot. That's a point search approach. Pharmaceutical, content streamer, marketing analytics, and we grow more and more in this domain. Everybody that needs to analyze big data over data lake, we see that is blown away by the speed and the ease of use. Some future and actually very near future, Varada next edition runs on Kubernetes. We're very happy to announce that. We have our Varada Control Center, which maybe in another time we can show, that gives some of the understandings that Varada did, because we do understand a lot from the workload. So we want to externalize this and educate and work more and more with the data engineer. And another thing, as we said, we're very proud of our contribution to the open source community. We have our own Git repository, and we open sourced a tool called the Query Analyzer. Maybe Guy, a word on this open source tool, which everybody can just
it's
forks and stuff.
Yeah, so basically we were talking Trino and Preston. That's another really nice thing about the Trino community. So we just contributed, I think it was 1 year ago, maybe a little bit more. Python, we discussed Python. So that's a Python open source project that allows you to pretty easily install it and to analyze your Trino cluster to understand your bottlenecks, where if your query are heavy on memory, CPU consuming, which are the most heavy spenders in terms of CPU and resources. That's very useful tool. And Ori mentioned the control center, the Varada Control Center. So I also wanted to say that shortly we can use, the users will be able to use the control center in order to deploy Varada clusters as well, which can be very beneficial for organizations who doesn't have Trino, but they do have data lakes and they want to run fast analytics on the data lake. So if they are Athena users, Snowflake user, and they want to experience and see if indexing and autonomous caching can help them, that's also a great way to try us out and to see if it can help them with their use cases.
Yeah, in the future, we want to contribute that to the community. So just, again, we feel the burden of data engineers. We want to make it lighter. And we want data engineers, to download the connector and use it. See if it works. See if it works for you in your context. Because there are problems, as Guy mentioned, where it won't work. And you have another problem and you need another tool. And that's the beauty of it. But we do want to make it easy. Download our control center once it's available, and just make it easy to spin. The work of data engineers, as we say, is so complex and so stressful. We need to make it as to take the load to our side as much as we can, and that's kind of what we're doing. And we're very proud to be a part of this vibrant global community.
Yeah. Wow, this is amazing. I should actually quote it, where Varada helps the community and also the data engineers to get the workload to a level which is least. And it's good to see companies obviously thinking about the data engineers a lot and understanding the pressure that they go through. So I can't wait. Obviously, I can't wait for all of these to release and come out in the community. And obviously, I am ready for the 2.0 session with Varada, and I'm sure it will be super fun. So
it will be our pleasure.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. We'll put something on the calendar for the community, and they can obviously learn around more about what Varada has come out with. And rightly, Mike mentions like it first aid for data engineers and community. Very true.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, let's before I ask you guys the last question, I would love to quickly do this raffle and announce our winners for today. Thanks for participating, everyone. Let's see who the winner is. It's a very cool draw that comes out. Let's see who is the winner today. It is Willie. Hey, Willie. Congratulations. You win 1 annual subscription of 365 Data Science, and I'll be happy to reach out to you and provide you with the code. Okay, this was super interesting, Ori, Guy. I do, obviously I don't want to go, but I have a lot many more questions which I could easily ask.
Perfect.
But I'll settle for just these questions for today, and would love to hear from you. I think Guy might have moved because he might have had a call or something.
No,
But
I think probably a failure, but
no
yeah.
worries. But Ori, if folks want to reach out to you and Guy, which is the best place to reach out to you?
First of all, go to varada.io and contact us. Go to our website. We'll be
Yep.
available waiting for you. And Ravit, thank you so much for having us today. It was a real pleasure talking with you. And we're looking forward actually to announce more cool stuff in your show.
Oh yes, definitely. Why not? I am looking forward to more such interesting sessions. I know for a fact I can see Guy. Okay, Guy is
Ah,
back, but
almost. There he goes.
he's
Yeah,
almost back.
yeah,
Guy,
we
Guy,
were
you're back
dropping
with
in,
us.
just before we said goodbye. It was so sad to be to. Yeah, but I'm back. I'm back to say goodbye.
We're
So
happy to see you, Guy.
yeah.
yeah, Guy. I just wanted to know, for our audience, which is the best place to reach out to you. Ori
Uh,
did mention Varada.io is one place, folks can directly reach out, but individually, which is the best
Yeah,
place?
I think LinkedIn. I
yeah.
think LinkedIn is great. Also, our Slack
Yeah,
community, the
community
community
Slack.
Slack, it's a great place to reach out in the general
Awesome.
channel or to DM me. That can be great.
Okay, that's fantastic. It was nice chatting with you guys. Thank you
It was
very much
My
amazing.
for
Thank you,
pleasure.
Ravit.
great insights, great information. Thank you, everyone from the audience, for joining
Thank
us
you
today.
all.
We'll have a 2.0 session definitely. Thank you, guys.